here's a solo breakdown for Joe Bonmassa's I Gave Up Everything For You, Cept the Blues. We're going to start with a D major triad, an inverted triad. We're going to slide just like we did in one of the previous solos. Actually, in fact, all of these shapes that we're using now was in solo number 2, I believe. So here's shape number 1, middle finger on 11 on the G string, and the index finger is going to cover the B string 10 and the high E string 10, okay? So we slide into that. We're then going to slide into a D7 shape, which is going to be middle finger on 14 on the G string, index finger on 13 on the B string, and the ring finger on the high E string 14. Okay, shape number 3 is middle finger on 17 on the G string, index finger on 15 on the B string, and ring finger on 17 on the high E string. Okay, so far we have. And then we go back to shape number 2. We'll play it a second time. And this time when we get to shape 3, we're going to play them as hits. And then back to shape number 2. Okay, here's the next part. Okay, so we're going to slide the G, the B, and the high E string from 10 to 12 twice. And then we're going to end on 10 on those same strings. So this is a 4-chord slide. It's the bottom of a 9 chord. Okay. Then we're going over to this riff that uses sixths. We're going to take the ring finger and we're going to slide from the A string 12 to 14. We're going to hold that note. We're going to add the index finger on the G string 12. We're going to upstroke from the G string. Now, when we do the upstroke, what we're going to do is we're going to strum the G, the D, and the A string. Now, the D string in the middle is going to be muted, so it's not going to make a note. So when we do that upstroke, we're going to slide down by 2 frets. So that's going to bring us to 10 on the index finger, and then 12 again with the ring finger. We're going to hit another upstroke. And then we're going to put our middle finger here on 10 on the A string, and then index on 9 on the G string. Same idea, mute the D string in the middle. We're going to strum down, and then we're going to hit the G string up. We're going to take the same shape and bring it down by 2 frets, and we end up on 8 on the A string and 7 on the G string. So that whole section. So we're going to hit the low E string with our thumb or index finger, whichever you prefer. And then we're going to do a double stop riff here. So we're going to cover the G string 12 and the B string 12, and we're going to pick those 2 strings together. And then we're going to cover those same 2 strings, but on 10 with the index finger. We're going to pick those 2, and we're going to do a hammer-on with the middle finger onto 11 on the G string. It's important to make sure that we don't interrupt the B string while we're doing this. Only want the G string to have the hammer on, and the B string is going to continue to ring out on the 10th fret, okay? Cool, here's the next part. Okay, pretty standard blues stuff here. We're going to do a bend and cut here on 12 on the G string. Okay, and then we're going to hit 10 on the B string, 10 on the high E string, and we're going to bend the 13th fret B string. And make sure it's a full step bend. We're then going to hit the high E string 10, the B string 13, high E string 10, B string 10, B string 13, back to the B string 10, G string 12, and we're going to do a half step bend here on 10 on the G string, and then we're going to end finally on the D string 12. So that whole section. Okay, here's the next section. So we're going to do another bend and cut here on the 12th fret G string. It's a full step bend. We cut it, we hit 10 on the B string, 10 on the high E string, and cut this note. We're going to do a full step bend here on 13 on the high E string. We're going to cut that, and we're going to do a pull off back to 10 on the high E string. We're going to go back to 13 on the high E string. I recommend using the pinky finger this time because we're going to go right to a bend on the B string 13. You have a few choices here. You could do a finger roll. And if you're really good at finger rolls, I would recommend that. Going from a finger roll to a bend is a little hard. So either a pinky or a finger roll, whatever you're more comfortable with, okay? Here's the next section. Okay, so this small riff here is going to start with 10 on the high E string, and we're gonna chop it up, and then we're gonna do a pull off from 13 to 10 on the B string. Okay, as soon as the pull off is completed, we chop it, and then we just repeat the riff. And then we end the riff with a full step bend on 13 on the B string. Here's the final riff of the third solo. Okay, so we're going to start with 10 in the high E string, 13, back to 10, back to 13, and then we're going to do a hammer-on pull-off combination from 10 and 13. Go ahead, 13 on the B string, back to 10 on the high E string, a pull-off from 13 from the B string to 10, we're going to do a slide from 13 on the G string to 12, and then we're going to hit 10 on the G string. Okay, so let me make sure I got this right. And then we're going to end on the D string 12. Next, it's going to be the G string 10. We're going to do a pull off from 12 to 10 on the D string, and we're going to end on the A string 12, back to the D string 10, and then finally A string 12, and then finish the whole solo off with. Okay, so use your thumb or your index finger. That's 10 on the low E string, and then we're going to cover the G and the B on the 12th fret, and then we're going to do a hammer-on. A double stop hammer on. Index finger is going to cover 10 on the G and 10 on the B string. We're going to pick those two and then hammer the middle finger onto 11 on the G string.